Hi YouTube and welcome to Big Bird's Airsoft. This is a new Airsoft channel that I've decided to try and start up. There's loads of people doing Airsoft channels out there, but I thought I'd try and give my own take on it and see how we go. We're going to be trying lots of different contents, trying to have different angles from different parts of the is it sport? Yeah, sport game, whatever. And see how we go with it. If any content you like, please make comments, press the like button, subscribe, and make sure you click on the small bell to get notifications, because at some point we'll be doing a giveaway and we want to make sure everyone gets a fair crack at it. So to start with, we're going to start with a review, or at least an unboxing, first impressions of a airsoft rifle. So here we go. Recently I've been reading some good things on the internet and magazines about Specna Arms. Now, it's not a brand I'm very familiar with, but with all the things I've been reading about them and the fact they're supposed to be good value for money, not overly expensive but a decent quality product, I thought it was time to have a look at one myself and see what exactly you get in the box and what you get with the gun. So today what I've got is the SA-H02, which is basically an HK416 with the exception of the name, which will be purely down to branding and what do you call it? Oh shit, I forgot the name of it. Copyright. So this will basically be down to copyright. And what we're going to do is we're going to open the box, have a look, see what's inside, and I'll give first impressions. I'll also be doing a shooting test. I'll give the FPS and sort of a rough accuracy test, and then eventually we'll break it down. We'll have a look at exactly what the internals are made up of and what we've got inside the gun. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll start with the unboxing. As it comes here, it comes in a nice Specna Arms box, cardboard box. They made quite a nice job of this. I don't want to go into too much detail about boxes because it is a box review, so it's my first impressions of the gun. But you've got the front, you've got the back, which shows you the range, and you've got on the end, it tells you what gun you've actually purchased, and you've got a little hologram, it's the hologram's like a little which got serial number on there, and then you also get the same on the gun itself. So what we'll do is we'll open it up and we'll see exactly what you get inside. So as we open it up, we've got a instruction manual. Nothing particularly unusual about that. It shows a bit of the range, the do's and the don'ts of what to do with it. Pretty basic stuff, you know, the usual kind of thing you get in an airsoft gun. We've got a sheet of stickers for your gun case, and you have a quality certificate. So it tells you exactly what your FPS was from your first to the fifth round, and it gives you a stamp to say that it's passed its quality control. You've got a thick piece of foam across the top, and inside you've got the gun. In the box, included in the box, we have the gun itself, we have the magazine, and we have a few little bits and pieces. We've got a key for winding the magazine, which we'll come to in a minute. We've got a lanyard, and we've got a spare spring, which is important. So if we look at the quality control certificate, the FPS on this gun when it was tested was 416, 420, 422, 424 and 423. So outside of the UK FPS limits. Now they've thought of that, and they've also included in the package a spare spring. It's actually got a quick change spring method on the gearbox, so you can swap this out. It's a slightly lighter spring, which will bring the FPS down to roughly about 310 claims. So we'll try that out later and we'll see exactly what it is. Included in here, this is a winder for the high cap magazine, which is in this part. Now I've got a 416 style high cap magazine. I won't be using this. I don't like high cap magazines, I hate them. And the fact you've got to wind this one with a key, even worse. I'm not going to use this. I don't like that setup. It's a shame, it's a nice looking magazine. It would have been much better if they just sent it with a mid cap, from my personal opinion, because I don't use high caps. But nevertheless, that's what we've got. In this section here, you've got a lanyard. So you can stick whatever the hell you want on there. And finally, we've got the rifle itself. Oh, I should mention there is actually an unjamming rod and another Specna Arms quick chain, well, it's a catalogue and it shows you the quick change spring on the back. And this is the rifle itself. Get rid of that. Now, as you can see, pretty unmistakably, it's a 416 silhouette. It's certainly not whatever they call it on the side, but you know, it's a nice solid looking 416. Very typical of what you might see. It looks a bit like the TM blowbacks you get. Little bits to sort of speak about on here. Just externally, nice solid rail at the front. You've got solid sights. I believe these are aluminium, or they certainly feel aluminium. Aluminium front end, and you've got a locking bolt as well, which you can push forwards on the side there. It's not ambidextrous. It's actually standard M4 layout, like any M4 or 416, and then you've got your extendable crane stock on the back, which if you press the button here, like any other, you pull it back. It's got a small window to show you what setting you've got on there, but pretty much for me it's either forwards or it's back. It is quite a hefty stock, and you twist it and you've got your battery compartment at the back, so it's rear wired. One thing I'd say about this, the stock's a little bit of wobble in the stock where it's sat on the stock tube, not unusual for any kind of adjustable platform like this, like an M4 or anything else. I've got a M4 over there. It's exactly the same with a Magpul stock. It can be solved. You can put little spaces in to try and sort that out. Other than that, pretty normal setup for any kind of 416 M4 style. Nice grip, nice solid 416 style grip. Quite a light gun and quite a narrow gun as well. It's quite a narrow profile. It doesn't have trademarks because it's not licensed, so it says Specna Arms Industries. You get a serial number and you get the Specna Arms logo on the side here with the 556 NATO. You've got the standard, semi and fully auto. Nice solid clicks, feels very good quality. This gun feels rock solid though. There's no creaks, no wobbles, nothing. So far, first impressions, really good. One thing I wanted to mention with the stock is when you open it up and you look at your cables in the back here, you've got a small Tamiya style connector, which I'll change out for a Dean's connector before I try it. But you have got some quite good quality wires coming out the back here, which I'm quite impressed with the standard of the wires. One thing I don't like about the stock is the sling mounts, which are plastic. And I guess that's pretty typical. I prefer to have a metal sling mount in the stock, but it's something you can do. You can wrap around here, or you can go through the sling mount here. Whether I'll keep the stock the same, I don't know. I'll decide later on. But what I want to do is have a look at how it performs, how it fires. I will have to change this to a Dean's connector before I do, because all my batteries are Dean's, and we'll see how we go with it. But I also want to have a look at the inside and look at the specification for it, which we'll talk about more in a minute. So I've taken it upstairs into my little workshop, and I've now changed the electrical connections from the Tamiya to a Dean's type, which is sat here on the back of the stock. And I've also got rid of the wobble in the stock because it was quite annoying. So when it's fully extended now, it doesn't wobble. I just put a bit of a spacer in there, a bit of felt. So now I'm just going to do a firing test. Now before I do this, one thing you can do with an airsoft gun is take a torch, shine it into the mag well, and as long as the nozzle inside the hop unit is back, you can actually see by looking down the barrel the orientation of the nozzle to the hop-up unit, and you can tell whether it's going to be in line, so whether the gearbox is actually in line with the hop-up. And on this, it actually isn't quite there. It's about just under a millimetre, I'd say, out offline, so off centre to the hop unit. And you can tell because you can see two circles. If it's perfect two circles, you know it's in line. If it's slightly off, it means the gearbox might need adjusting slightly, moving around just to get that perfect seal. Now, that's not going to make a huge difference if I'm honest to this. I've got another gun that's the same. it doesn't affect it greatly. But when you start upgrading, little things like this can make more of a difference, particularly if you're looking for high rates of fire. And if you want a gun that's really consistent and going to be working every time, each shot really well, it's worth thinking about that kind of thing. Certainly worth checking. Now, that doesn't mean every one of these is going to be the same. It may just be this one, but just think about that. And it's something we can easily correct anyway, so I'm not particularly worried about it. This has still got the harder spring in, so we're going to have to change that out before we do an accuracy test. I just want to chrono it before we do that, because I want to know exactly what it's firing FPS wise with the stiffer spring in, and it'll give an idea of what we'll get when we put the lighter spring in. So we'll move to that in a sec. I did see on YouTube a guy talking about the Specna Arms mag compatibility, and I've read a couple of things on forums as well, people saying that the magazines aren't compatible or some mags don't fit. Now, I'm going to be using the PTS mags, PTS EPM I think it is. Now this guy in particular said they don't fit in his Specna Arms, and he did a demonstration, they didn't fit. They do fit in this one, and they feed. So I can put that in there, and you can see no wobble, no problems. If I take it out, the BBs have loaded into the hop-up unit as well, so we know that works. So put those to one side. So before we can do the shooting test, I'll put a battery in. For this test, I'm going to be using a 1450 milliamp 7.4 LiPo battery. So this is a stock tube battery basically. It's not very big, it's quite short. I use it in one of my other M4s. The other day I got this pretty much for a whole day. This lasted, so it did quite well. It's best to have a spare, but you know, they're good batteries. I think this is a new Pro, but no it isn't. It's a VP Airsoft, beg your pardon. Another thing that's worth mentioning about these is the gearbox. So it's a version 2 gearbox, and it's got a metal hop unit as well. It's like one of these cast aluminium hop units. It's a standard dial type, it isn't a rotary one. The gearbox itself, although it's a metal shell, it's got 8mm gears, but it's fairly standard setup inside. You've still got the original sort of old-fashioned contacts for the trigger unit, and you've got a brass nozzle, sorry, not brass nozzle, you've got a plastic nozzle, a brass cylinder, plastic piston and head, and standard gears. Nothing particularly revolutionary in there, very standard stuff. Now, that's not necessarily a negative in my opinion, because the simple fact is it's crying out for you to upgrade. If you want to put upgraded parts in here, they're going to drop straight in and away you go pretty much. You can do so much with this. It's like any other version too. As long as you're careful with the part compatibility and you don't start mixing it too much where you sometimes have problems, you'll be able to do a lot with this gearbox, particularly with the quick change spring. So with that, we'll go on to the chrono test. So from that little test there, you can see that it was roughly around 370, 372, around that kind of FPS. That's using 0.2 gram BBs, so that's 1.28 joules. Now that's a little bit under what the quality control certificate says, but that may be due to the spring being compressed for some time, or it's been in storage, something like that. After the test fine, it's not a problem. It's higher, it's too hot for UK sites anyway, so we're still going to change it out, and if the FPS is around 310 with the light spring, then it sort of proves the theory that the spring was compressed. The air seal, I can't really speak about at the moment. It won't be the best air seal because it's a standard gun with plastic sort of piston head and, sorry, not piston, yeah, piston head, cylinder head and nozzle. So the air seal is not going to be fantastic anyway, and we can deal with that when we decide to upgrade it, if we decide to upgrade it. So I'll put this spring in, we'll do another chrono, and then we'll do a little bit of an accuracy test and see exactly how the hop-up performs with a real target, which we'll be doing at around 20 meters. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we've changed out the spring. I've put the M90 spring, I think it is, that comes with the gun. So we're going to try it out. Let's get one thing clear with this. Although it's classed as like a quick change spring, if you think you're going to be changing it in the safe zone at a match, I would strongly recommend you don't do that. There's lots of small parts. Although it's a quick change, don't think you're going to take the buffer tube off and change the spring. You've actually got to remove the gearbox from the lower receiver. So it means taking all the mag release, taking the grip off, motor out, the whole lot to actually strip it out, including the pin holding the gearbox in. So it's actually not really that quick a change spring. It's more convenient for if you're tuning the gun and working on it and you want to swap springs out and try it with different ratings of springs. If you think you're going to go to a match and run it as a CQB in the morning and then swap it out for a bigger spring in the afternoon to do a DMR, I'd forget that. This isn't the gun for that. However, if you want a gun that you can mess around with, tune and get the best results out by swapping out the springs, then yeah, it's great for that. So yeah, taking it apart, it comes apart like any M4, 416, whatever. So it's no big fuss, no great problem. But yeah, you don't want to be doing that in the safe zone. So what we'll do now, we'll move on, we'll put a mag in and we'll see what the FPS is with the light spring. So, final thoughts on the Specna Arms SA-H02. As you can see from the chrono test, with the light spring, it's a little bit underpowered. It's around 260 to 265, which is lower than I'd want, to be honest. I'd want it, 328 is where you want it. So that would suggest that there's perhaps not a great air seal. All these things are fixable, and this is the beauty of this gun, is it's pretty simple. The internals are pretty simple. It's got a decent gearbox shell, 8mm bearing, so you can do something with it. You can upgrade the parts, the internal parts. You can change the air seal, the nozzle, the hop up. And so for that reason, I actually think it's got a future with me. It's quite a nice gun. It's the cheapest way to get into a 416 really. It's got a nice solid metal body. It feels nice in the hand. It's got a nice, very recognisable 416 grip. It feels good in the shoulder when you sort out wobble with the stock. It feels solid. And I'm really, really impressed with the externals of this gun for the price. I mean, these are coming in around 225 to 250. So, you can't really go wrong with that. Compared to something like a Tokyo Marui DevGru, you're looking at a lot more money. If you're comfortable with stripping these down, taking them apart and upgrading, and that's your thing, you enjoy doing it, then this is a great base to do it. If you want a new gun, if you're a new player and you're thinking you're on a budget and you want a 416, again, it's a great option. It does work out the box. It's not going to be the most accurate, and at some point you're going to probably have to repair the internals. Obviously the air seal's not where I would like it, but they're all things you can improve. And one thing I would say is, if you're not keen or you've never taken them apart, get your local dealers to change the spring for you beforehand, and it'll save you a lot of hassle if you're not keen on taking them apart. Take it out, play with it and use it and get the best out of it. And then when it comes to upgrading, that's the thing to crack on with, and you've got a good platform to start with. Now, I bought this as a bit of a backup spare, if you like, for when I'm using some of my upgraded guns, just in case something goes wrong, as it often can. And having got it and started messing with it, I actually quite like it. I'm thinking about doing an upgrade series with it. Now, what I'm thinking about though is not spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds, but seeing what kind of benefit, what kind of performance improvement I can get out of it without spending too much money. So just going down the routes of making it slightly more accurate, perhaps a little bit of a snappier trigger response without breaking the bank, and going for the best upgrades that sort of make a difference for me. So I'm not interested in 30 rounds per minute or anything like that. I just want a snappy trigger response and for it to be pretty accurate as an airsoft gun can be, but consistent, get good consistency out of it. So if you'd be interested in seeing that, please make a comment or a like or a thumbs up or anything, because they'll let me know people want to see it. So rather than me just do it and nobody ever see it, I'll video it, let everyone see, and we'll measure the results and see how it goes. And I'll give you the prices of how much it costs to do it and what the benefits are. So please let me know. If you're going to go out to a new player and buy one of these, does it get Big Bird's seal of approval? I think it does, yeah. One thing to think about is, if you are, get some really high quality mags. Don't go for second best and try them in the shop. So go into the shop, say, what are your best quality mags? Find out. So for me, the best mags are the PTS mags. I absolutely love these because I know they work in my guns with a high trigger response and high rate of fire. And for that reason, I love them. I think they're really good. They're solid, they don't wobble, they sit in the receiver, and they work in this really well. So if you're going to buy one of these, yes, they're a good price, but please figure in a price for mags. Get the best you can. I have also got MAG mags here. I haven't tried them in this. I will be at some point, and I'll probably give an update, but in reality they're just not as good as these. These are so good, and I will do a separate review on these. But with that said, I'm actually quite positive about this. Like I say, it's got its drawbacks like any airsoft gun. When you're looking at a low price, then that's what you're faced with. You're always going to get a drawback. But then if you're like me and you love upgrading, you love messing and making things better than they were from the factory, then this is a perfect starting point. And equally, you can get it out of the box and go and play with it once that spring's changed. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Please let me know if you did. And if you want to see some more in the future and perhaps see some of my existing guns that I've got and upgraded and done different things to, then please give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you.